For regular videos on ancient cultures and forgotten civilizations, please subscribe. If you don't mind, I just want to pause here for a second to tell you about another kind of historical investigation I've been doing. Some of you may not know this, but I'm a big fan of family history research. You know, my family tree. I've been able to trace back my lineage more than 200 years so far. That's one of the reasons I feel very comfortable recommending to you a service called MyHeritage. MyHeritage is a leading global family history and DNA service that makes exploring your family history easier than ever. As you may know, our origins are encoded in our DNA, and this enables scientists to pinpoint where in the world our ancestors came from. Well, a couple of weeks ago, I decided to take the MyHeritage DNA test. The MyHeritage DNA testing kit. I just got it in the mail. Let's see what's inside. We've got our two scientific vials here. And our two swabs, one for each cheek. You get to label your saliva a biohazard. All right, so here's the first swab. I'm going to go in on my left cheek. Take the swab head. I put it in. And then against the side, I break it. Right where the mark is, you know? And then I put down the lid. Going in on the right cheek. Right cheek done. Let's open up the vial. Stick it in. Break it off. Boom. Put the lid on. And I've got my two vials ready to go. Boom. Don't forget to put a stamp on here. Then you put it in the mailbox and you wait 3 to 4 weeks. Well, I just got an email saying the test results are ready. So you and I, right now, can go to MyHeritage and see what they are. Okay, here's where it takes you. David, ready to explore your ethnicity? You bet I am. Ooh, 40% Balkan. Ooh, they even have the music. 26.8% East European. I figured that one. 21.8% Scandinavian. What? Scandinavian? I had no idea. North African? Yeah, I think that might be from my father's side. I'm not sure. And other ethnicities. Ooh, I'm kind of surprised about the Balkan and the Scandinavian. Okay, oh, look at this. Got a map. Oh, this tells me all the places that I'm from. Oh, what? Well, look at this. Nigeria. I had no idea. This is so cool. Your DNA test offers you the experience of discovering what makes you unique and learning where you really come from. So I partnered with MyHeritage, which enabled me to get you a special coupon code for free shipping on the DNA kit and a 30-day free trial subscription to MyHeritage's Family History Research Service, plus 50% off if you decide to join. The link is in the description box below this video. One of the subjects I get asked about a lot is regarding the capability of the ancients to carve stone, and in particular hard stone like granite. Before modern machines, power saws, and diamond-studded blades, how easy was it to do? When it came to hard stone, how capable were the tools and technology that pre-modern societies possessed? Fortunately for us, numerous people have conducted experiments to ascertain whether ancient tools could actually be used to create the amazing works we find today in the archaeological record. In this video, I will share with you visual evidence that the ancients could cut granite and other hard stones without diamonds or electricity. Welcome to the Myths of Ancient History series, in which common misconceptions about ancient times are cleared up. In this one, we will look at the cutting and carving of stone. I want to show you how we know that certain tools could do certain things. In this video, we will establish the following claims. 1. Stone tools could carve limestone. 2. Copper tools could carve limestone. 3. Iron tools could carve granite. 4. Stone tools could carve granite. And 5. Stone abrasives could cut granite. And with all of these, when I say could carve or could cut, I mean carve or cut well enough that it could have been an efficient and profitable industry. The first two claims are not really controversial, but I'm including them just to set the groundwork, and there are some who denigrate stone and copper tools in general. As for claims 3 to 5, I get people in the comments all the time telling me that one or more of them is false. So this video is for the doubters. And for you others who already know these things, I hope it will build an appreciation of traditional methods of working by hand. If you're interested in stone carving, Mike Haddock has a cool channel you should check out. A number of his videos address questions about what the ancient Egyptians were able to do with the tools they had.
Hi, I'm Mike Haddock, and I've been a stonemason for over 50 years. I grew up in the business. I worked in stone quarries, I worked with people that moved houses, and today I'm going to prove that you don't need special tools to do what the ancients did in the old days. You could just use regular granite and stone or harder stones to do what you want. Here's the tools they use for carving. Looks like Wayne Ferry stuff. And here's the chisels. Stone tools. They had rope. Axes, chisels. There's like a hatchet there. That can be used for cutting stone. Bronze blades of axes. The plow, yeah. I made my homemade axe. You know, for carving down. I made my little sketch here with...
Mike shows that even makeshift tools can do a lot more than you might think.
And I could do it like this. I could start carving it off like this. I could just use another rock like this if I want to get some time. See? It's a little sharp, but you get the idea. I could get in there and start carving it away. Let me see how we're doing here. And then I just got another piece of granite. You see that? Just a piece of granite. And you start rubbing it like that. And then you just get another piece of limestone. And that is going to polish it up. So I'm getting there. Like I said, I'm not winning no trophies. But all we're going to do is we're going to get some pieces of granite. See them? Right here, some sharp pieces of granite. We're going to go into here and we're going to start digging in. So I kind of got around the sides a little bit. I get up in here. It takes a while to do this stuff, but I'm doing it. Cutting this down, and pretty soon I'm going to have the sides finished. Well, so far I got as far as I want to go, and I'm not doing it perfect because I don't know how. But I carved the sides.
Now ask yourself, if Mike, who is not an artist and who is simply using random pieces of stone and who is not experienced in working with tools made of stone, can accomplish this, what could an experienced ancient Egyptian stone artist accomplish?
So here we go.
Hi, I'm Wayne Ferry, professional stone carver. My friend and mason, Mike Haddock, came over and he had started a sphinx carving out of limestone. And he wanted to show how limestone could be carved with different things other than tools, traditional tools. He brought over a piece of granite that could be used to peck and chip away at a piece of limestone. A lot of the Egyptians were known to have had copper tools, and a lot of ancient alien theorists believe that, you know, the work couldn't have possibly been done with copper tools. Well, it could, especially if you're talking about limestone. But Mike has brought this over, and I've carved it with traditional metal tools.
Well, I might have to admit that I'm not a great carver, but you heard what Wayne said, that they could do it with copper tools.
Here we have a Russian fellow experimenting with a copper chisel on dolomite, which is one of the harder types of limestone.
Anyhow, one could argue that since the copper chisel has the hardness of 3, it's softer than the dolomite. Well, let me show you what can be done with a copper chisel. You see the layers in this dolomite and dolomitized limestone. And here the rock formation is denser, more solid. So try this. See? What am I, an idiot to hammer at the hardest spot? I'm gonna try to chip at it. That seems to be the way to go. Chipping at it. Bit by bit, on and on. See, it goes right in and right out.
You can get an idea of what it might have been like to carve the Sphinx head if they used copper. They may have used stone, or both. The vast majority of the Great Pyramid in Egypt is made of stones no harder than this stone.
The bottom line is, even though copper isn't the perfect material, it can chip dolomite. And dolomite is harder to work with than normal limestone. Boo! The Egyptians didn't have steel hammers. Is this better? Are you happy now?
Some people are under the mistaken impression that the Mohs scale of hardness determines what kind of tool can carve what kind of stone. They assume that one needs a tool harder than the stone in order for the tool to be able to carve it. But the Mohs scale is a jeweler's scale, and what it actually determines is how well a material can withstand scratches, cuts, or abrasions. Now yes, if you want to know how well a material, such as an abrasive, can grind its way through a stone, this measurement could be helpful, if you don't want to just try it out yourself and see. The Mohs scale measures relative hardness. The numbers are just rankings. There are other hardness scales that measure hardness in absolute terms, such as the Rockwell scale, which is used more widely in engineering. But if you want to know whether a tool can chip away at a stone, such as what happens in quarrying and sculpting, hardness is not the determining factor. Toughness is. Toughness measures how well a material is resistant to fracturing, and it is measured by the amount of breaking energy the material can withstand. This has a lot to do with the atomic composition and bond strength of the stone. Toughness is commonly measured on a fracture toughness scale and is rated poor, fair, good, excellent, or exceptional. Diamond, which is the highest on the Mohs scale, is actually only rated good on the toughness scale, because if you hit it at a certain angle, you can break it. But for our purposes, it's probably best just to test the tool on the stone and see if it works.
So now, we know that the pyramids, 95% were made out of limestone. This is a piece of limestone. Here's a piece of copper. Here's a piece of copper. It's impossible. We don't know how they did it. Let me get it back here a little bit. And you hold it and you start turning. This is copper. Everybody's got to agree with me. And you can see the stuff popping out. See it?
Now, what about granite? Can it be carved with ancient tools? Let's find out. Some people have expressed disbelief that the Romans, who had iron technology, could have carved granite with iron tools.
Limestone is about 3 to 3.5 in hardness out of 10, with 10 being diamond, and granite is 7 out of 10. So the only technology we know of that can cut granite efficiently is diamond technology.
In fact, Roman iron was actually a low-grade steel. And you can find Roman granite products all over the Roman Empire. Granite columns, granite bathtubs, granite vases. Yes, the Roman stone industry was thriving, and they didn't just work with marble or softer stones, they worked with granite. In Iron Age India, too, many amazing stone temples were carved out of granite with iron tools. Even today, working on granite by hand continues. Here's some video footage of traditional Indian stonemasons building a temple in Hawaii that I think you will find interesting.
Hindu temples have been carved from granite among the Earth's hardest rocks for over 3,000 years. On a tiny tropical island in Hawaii, a team of Indian stone craftsmen continue the tradition, erecting pillars and towers in the same manner their fathers and grandfathers and great-grandfathers created the staggering sacred monuments of South India. A Chola-style temple called Erivan is now being erected on the island of Kauai using only 2 implements, soft steel chisels and bamboo-handled mallets. Among the temple's wonderments is a 1,000-pound bell carved from black granite. Its sanctum is complete, and work is underway now to assemble the Maha Mandapam, the main gathering hall. In that hall, hanging from this 7,000-pound roof beam, will be the stone bell, rung by a sandalwood mallet and sounding exactly like metal. The 1,000-pound bell is held 8 feet above the temple floor by a massive brass bolt and chain. The bolt goes through the roof beam, and for that, a 1.5-inch diameter hole must be drilled through the center of the beam. The beam is 18 inches thick, and this is a project that will be done by hand. Having leveled the stone carefully, the craftsmen snap lines to determine the center point, first lengthwise, then crosswise. Then they roughly mark out the circle in preparation for the initial carving into the stone. Each soft steel chisel will last about 5 or 6 minutes at the most and have to be replaced by a sharp one. It will take 2 craftsmen about 6 or 7 hours to drill through the 18 inches of stone. Shorter chisels are used to prepare the initial hole, but it is actually 2 longer chisels that will be the working implements that drive us through the stone. While it takes 1 man to prepare this initial hole, 2 are going to be required to do the actual drilling, as you will see. These longer chisels are the exact width of the hole. Their blades are not sharp but rounded, as they do not cut or chip the stone so much as pulverize it a few thousand molecules at a time. The 2 Shilpis sit across from one another, working in tandem, one manipulating the chisel and the other striking it. As stone dust accumulates in the hole, water is added, allowing the slurry to be removed every 4 or 5 minutes with a simple sponge. Nearing the other side, the team measures carefully. If they break through, the force will crack the stone and create flaws that cannot be repaired. Their rhythm is patient. The chisel handler trained to keep the tool perfectly perpendicular. Their goal is to stop within 4 inches of the other side. Reaching that point, they call for more help from other members of the team who begin to turn the stone, stopping halfway to flush granite dust from the opening. Using soft wooden blocks that will be crushed by the weight and thus absorb the force of the falling stone, they take long crowbars to move the beam into place. 80 times a minute, the blows come, like a heartbeat of progress. The long chisel turned a few millimeters between strikes. Thousands of man-years have gone into this 21st century temple, and this perfectly drilled hole is just one tiny part of a team's accomplishment.
For over 20 years, teams of traditional Indian carvers have been working on the island of Kauai to erect America's only hand-carved granite Hindu temple.
ஒரு திருப்பணிங்கையில் அது ஒரு கடவுளுக்கு நம்ம ஒரு வேலை செய்கிறது மாதிரி அந்த அளவுக்கு கடவுள் கிட்டத்தட்ட நம்ம இருந்து செய்கிற மாதிரி ஒரு வேலைன்னு வச்சுங்களேன். திருப்பணிங்கிறது ஒரு முக்கியமான ஒரு வேலை. கடவுளுக்கே நம்ம ஒரு திறமையான ஒரு வேலையை நம்மக்கிட்ட இருக்கிற திறமை வெளிப்படுத்துகிற அளவுக்கு நம்ம செய்யணும் அப்படின்னு நினச்சி நாங்கள் செய்கிறோம் அந்த இடத்துல. அதுதான் வித்தியாசம்.
அது எல்லாருக்குமே ஒரு கஷ்டமான சூழ்நிலை. இருந்தாலும் நாங்கள் எல்லாம் பார்த்து சமாளிச்சிட்டோம். எந்த பிரச்சனையும் இல்லை. இங்கே 3 வருஷம் முடிஞ்சு 4வது வருஷம் போய்கிட்டு இருக்கு. ஃபோன் பண்ணுறதுலாம் டெலிவரி பண்ணலாம், அதெல்லாம் எல்லா வசதியும் இருக்குது. எந்த சிரமமும் இல்லை. ஒன்றும் சிரமமான ஒன்றும் அவ்வளோதான் இங்கே இல்லை. நல்ல ஈஸியான வேலை தான். இந்த இடத்துல வேலை பார்த்துருக்கு, இங்கே வேலை பார்க்குறதுக்கு ரொம்ப சௌகரியமாக இருக்குது. நல்லா பார்த்துக்கிறாங்க. இங்கே எந்த கஷ்டமும் இல்லை, நல்லா பார்த்துக்கிறாங்க. வேறு இடத்துல வேலை பார்க்குறத விட இங்கே வேலை பார்க்குறது எங்களுக்கு மனசுக்கு ரொம்ப திருப்தியாக இருக்குது, சந்தோஷமாக இருக்குது.
ஆரம்பத்தில் நாங்கள் பெங்களூரில் வேலை நடந்துருக்கு. அங்கே ஒரு 25 வருஷம் அங்கே வேலை வந்துருக்கேன்.
Okay, well, what about the days before iron technology? Could granite have been carved then? Yes, in the days before iron, granite and other hard stones could be carved, but not with metal, with stone.
Today I'm going to take this piece of granite and I am going to cut into it like they did the sarcophagus and everything, because they said, oh, it can't be done. But I'm going to do it with just using these stones, and it's not going to be a big deal. I'm going to show you that everything they're telling you is nonsense. So to get the big stuff off, you just use another piece of granite and you start chipping it off. Oh, Mike, it can't be done. You don't understand. They had ancient technology. I'm just using those little granite pieces, but I also got this from an archaeologist, and it's flint. And you could use this too. See? You just look for the weak spot, you keep pitching it in there. No big deal. Now you can see my primitive hammer. I just put the granite in here, and I just beat on it like this.
As you might already know, stone technology was an extremely early technology humans developed, and its evidences can be found all over the world. And over a very long period of time, stone tech got more and more sophisticated. Even with the development of metallurgy and the appearance of copper, bronze, and iron tools, stone tools remained, because stone tools still had advantages.
And you can see the crystals in here, like this crystal top. My hammer's falling apart. Just take it down. Now I'm going into my granite, and here's my lines. I just keep taking it off the high spots and digging into it. And then as I get closer, I'm going to have to get a little more delicate with it. Now the secret is, when you're dealing with this granite, you can't go too deep, because you'll crack this off. So you got to go lightly and just kind of wear it away. Takes a long time. I come out here, for 10, 20, 30 minutes. I might get like a 1/16 of an inch down, but I'm getting it. So you got to work it. You got to crush it. You got to get these knobs off. I don't know if the camera could see that. So this is the end result. You see that? I carved that into there with just using pieces of granite, and I'm not going to lie to you, it took a long time to do it. I keep coming out a little bit at a time, maybe a 32nd of an inch, and I get it.
Here's an experiment done by the Scientists Against Myths channel using flint on granite.
What is this? This is a kind of quartz rock. I don't know its right name. In short, we'll be dressing the stone with it, yes. We decided to do something elaborate and drill a pupil in the eye. So, we have chiseled an eye with an eyebrow. It looks great. Even better than expected.
When you look at it closely, it appears naive in style, but the actual workmanship that's gone into it is absolutely superb. It's a real piece of fantastic craftsmanship.
Here, engineer Dennis Stocks works with a stone carver to replicate Egyptian art on a quartzite sarcophagus.
And if you look at the subtlety of the carving, so it's pretty around the eye, and certainly on the lips, are absolutely beautifully worked.
Yes. Willett normally works with limestone. The challenge is how he'll cope with quartzite, one of the hardest stones on Earth. First, he tries one of his modern steel chisels.
That's it. Oh, yes.
It's fairly efficient. You shift quite a bit with that.
This would be similar to the results the Romans would get with their steel chisels.
But it does wear it down pretty quick.
Wear it down a little bit, yeah.
Next, he tries a chisel made of bronze, a material used by the ancient Egyptians.
Hardly touches it.
Steel works fine, copper not so well. But the ancients didn't use copper chisels on granite. Stocks now suggest they try a flint chisel.
Certainly more efficient than the
that
bronze.
Seems to be working very well.
Compared to the bronze, it's brilliant. Yeah.
Even on this very hard stone, it's quite clear that you really need a stone tool to work stone.
Yes, definitely.
Stone carver Dave Willett is beginning to understand why some parts are more finished than others. It's taken him 50 hours simply to take out the background and shape the face in relief. But he's discovering too how the ancient Egyptians may have produced the sarcophagus and what they went through to do it.
Using the granite pounders, I think, is how they must have taken out larger areas, because it's so much more efficient than using the flints.
Quartzite is a 7 to 8 on the Mohs scale. It is harder than granite. It's actually slightly harder than the flint he is using to carve it. But as you now know, in this situation, the Mohs scale doesn't matter.
Experimental archaeologist Dennis Stocks is trying to estimate how long it might have taken to produce the whole sarcophagus. Before carving even began, his research suggests the ancient Egyptians would have first drilled out the interior of the quartzite block.
By using tubular drills of copper, with a bow to turn it, with sand abrasive for the drilling out, and with 3 teams working 8 hours a day, I think it would take about 536 days, which is equal to about 18 months.
Finally, after almost 4 weeks of carving, Willett finishes the goddess.
People don't usually think of stone tools as being able to produce such fine work.
Wow! It stands right out at you, doesn't it? Well, it's a wonderful job. It really is. You know, I think it's amazing that you can produce such a level of detail with such a tiny piece of flint.
It is quite incredible, really. When I first started, I thought, no way would flints be able to do this, but it certainly opened my eyes to what skill and craftsmanship they had in ancient Egypt.
Using his work as a guide, Willett estimates it would have taken one man almost 6 years to carve the entire sarcophagus. But evidence suggests the box was the work of a team of craftsmen.
How many men would you think could work at the same time around the
You could
sarcophagus?
probably get about 8 or 10 round.
Well, suppose we say about 10.
That'll bring it down to about 8 months.
Okay, now let's look at some sawing experiments. In this one, an experiment is done with a copper saw and an abrasive on granite.
Okay, we need to check it out. I think you should be able to see through now. Yeah, sure. Yep. Oh my, and you guys didn't even want to shoot.
Sculptor Nathan Dawes and his student Islam El-Sharqawi are used to sculpting granite using modern techniques. But they have always wondered how their ancestors carved this hard rock without iron tools. This test is a challenge for them. After a few minutes striking the stone with the dolerite balls, they have already loosened a large amount of granite dust.
Abrasives made of stone could also be used to grind granite, and this process could even be used to make cuts in hard stone.
The real challenge is not to prove the dolerite's effectiveness. He has no doubt about that. What he would like to test is how to make perfect angles, like in the king's chamber, without steel tools.
If we hit the edge of the ridge with dolerite bars like this, we'll break the ridge.
According to Frank and other researchers who experimented before him, the perfect recipe is to use an abrasive paste composed of Nile silt and emery powder. Emery is one of the only rocks that is much harder than granite. When emery powder is applied with a single copper blade, it can actually saw the granite.
Okay, do you hear that? That sound means it's good.
Okay, it needs to squeak.
You just have to be very, very, very patient.
Five millimeters.
5 milli?
5 millimeters.
Not bad. We got to 1/5 of an inch. I think we sawed for 25 minutes to get to 1/5 of an inch depth, but over a short length. With a longer length, I think it would take a little longer.
For 3 days, Nathan, Islam, and 2 workers will level 2 sides of the block, removing between 1.5 and 2 inches of their surfaces with dolerite balls. Then they will start sawing on 2 sides to prepare the cutting of a perfect edge. For this delicate operation, Nathan decided to use flint tools rather than dolerite balls that are too big and therefore less precise for this finishing work. They managed to make a perfect angle with the tools available in Khufu's era. Dolerite balls, a copper blade, an abrasive emery paste, and flint.
طلعت أخيرا أهي.
نكتها شوية.
It's a great experiment. I have always read about the ancient techniques. Something it worried me a lot since I'm a sculptor. So to be able to do it yourself, that's something.
Okay, here I am drilling granite. How did I do it? I used a wooden guide to create the first guide hole. Then I put some, plasticine mud around it, or you could use mud just to stop the water spilling. It was mainly to keep things clean, so the grit wouldn't go everywhere around the house. If you're working outside, it's not even a problem. And grit, I was using copper. I was using copper and non-diamond. So you still hear this Brian Foster, you need diamond technology. It's absolute rubbish. And notice there at the top right corner as well, the striations, exactly the same impossible striations that the lost ancient high technologists carry on about after all these years. They know about these experiments, they just won't tell you about them, they've got to sell you the mystery. Okay, another clip from an older drill. So how fast am I going? Those high-speed diamond drills are doing about 1600 RPM. The power drill, battery charger, going a little bit less, but I've just painted that spot on there so I can do a rev count. And surprise, surprise, once I got a bit better at it, so initially I wasn't quite so good, I've improved my technique to make it a little bit easier. It's a bit more sweaty, more grunt work doing it like this particular method. There's an easier, nicer way to do it, but what's my RPMs, revolutions per minute, and it turns out that I'm getting consistently above 330, and when I was in the zone I was getting above 420. So, and this was just a one grab that I just took out to do it. So if I'd been practicing and I was a younger man and a bit more coordinated, not only would I be able to maintain 420 RPM, probably do better than that as well. So absolutely, you can drill in the granite. This ancient Egyptian tool, this is the flywheel drill, the stonemason's drill. This works great. It compares very well to a modern tool, except modern tool uses electricity. I'm using hand power.
This is cool. I sometimes find viewers of my channel and of other experimental channels also giving it a try, and they are able to do it too. Interestingly, hand stonecraft is still alive and well in Egypt.
And for Sayed Mahmoud Al-Matani, sculpting is a way to tell his country's history through art. He inherited the craft from his father and grandfather, and has been doing it for over 6 decades.
يعني احنا عندنا ثروة قومية ويجب الحفاظ عليها لأن مصر مليئة بالخيرات وإذا استغلناها استغلال حقيقي صح.
In the past, craftsmen carved hieroglyphics and intricate figures of people, animals, and gods. They used stone to make everyday items, but also the tombs of their kings and queens. Today, artisans mostly make souvenirs and ornaments, like vases and jewelry boxes. He's eager to pass on the craft to younger generations, and so he trains apprentices like Ahmad, who's been doing this job with him for 13 years. First, they cut the block of stone with a saw. Then Ahmad breaks it with a hammer to get it to the size he wants to work with. If he's working with a large piece, like a vase, he places it in a hole in the ground that keeps it in place.
Now, it is possible that this is a revived industry rather than one that was passed down from ancient Egypt in an unbroken line of masters and apprentices. But even if it was, we can see that modern metal tools are being used here, but not high-powered machines. These are tools you might find as far back as the Iron Age. And work is still being done by hand, so I don't think it's a stretch to say that certain techniques go back further than that.
Sayed prefers the simple carving methods similar to those his ancestors used.
هو اللي يشتغل بالمواد الكهربائية ما يطلعش حاجة صح. لازم الهاند ميد. الفراعنة أن استعملوا الحاجة بدون ميكنة فطالعة مظبوطة، لكن احنا ما نجيب مواتير ودي يخرم دي لا ما ينفعش.
Once the center is done, Ahmad uses a file to even out the surface.
في نوعين مبارد أو ثلاثة، في مبرد اللي هو زي كده بنشكل بيه برضه الشفة تحت الحتة بنحددها. بعد ما تنتهي المبرد تكون شكلت في نوع شنفرة تدينا طبقة أنعم.
Making one vase like this takes Ahmad 10 days. Larger items can take months to finish. These pieces sell anywhere from $300 to $1,000.
But experiments are being done using other techniques as well. Olga Vdovina, a craft worker from Russia, has had considerable success making stone vessels, and she just keeps going. Here she is using stone to grind stone on a homemade lathe powered by hand. For her first try, she is carving breccia marble.
Hello, I'm Olga Vdovina. I'm a sculptor from the city Carve, Russia. I reenact ancient technologies. I've already demonstrated the method of making an inner angle in a granite block using a piece of flint, just as an ancient Egyptians could have done this. I've already made 2 stone vessels using primitive tools. The second one, the bird-shaped vessel, was made after ancient Egyptian patterns without using even copper tools. This took me more than 7 months. That was very hard work. I'm not afraid of difficulties, and now I'm going to attempt a far harder task. This time I want to make a vessel of diorite, the hardest stone that ancient Egyptians used for this purpose. I will use only the simplest tools made of stone and bone. This experiment will be the first ever in the world. It's hard to figure out how long it will take me, but probably over 6 months. I'll be working the whole week.
When she has finished work on the diorite vase, the video will be released on the Scientists Against Myths channel. Diorite is rated 7 on the Mohs scale. It's very hard. So here again are the 5 claims I said we would verify in this video. If you think any of these have not been adequately supported, let me know in the comments below. How well did I do? If you were a skeptic before, are you now? Thank you for watching all the way to the end. If you would like to help this channel out, you can do so with a super thanks, or more regularly, as a patron. Just go to patreon.com/worldofantiquity, and for as little as $2 per month, you can help keep this channel afloat. We'll see you next time. You might like my little e-booklet, Why Ancient History Matters. It's designed to persuade people that the subject is important, even in the modern world. You might also wish to use it to help spread the word. So feel free to share it with someone you know. It's free for anyone who wants it. I've left a link in the description box below the video for you to grab a copy. Catch you later.